Donald Trump on the Jeff Epstein list?
No. Again, you said it. If he was on the list, we would have...
As long as I'm not on the Epstein list, we're good, right? Speaking of which, how is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light? I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right, folks? It's almost like they're trying to protect those pedophiles for some reason. I can't imagine why, right?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Epstein for 5 days during a trip to Zorro Ranch. His massive compound surrounded by government land in the New Mexico desert. Epstein took my sexual innocence in front of a wall of framed photographs of him shaking hands and smiling with celebrities and political leaders. I was only 15 years old. After, he wanted to talk with me about what had just been my first sexual experience, and directed me to take time to myself that night to cry. He said that would be beneficial to my growth. After this, we had a long talk about my future goals. I told him that I wanted to go to college to study biochemistry. He said that he wanted to give me money for college. He asked me how much money I thought he should give me. At 15 years old, living in northern Michigan with my mother, stepfather, and grandfather, I had no idea how to respond to a billionaire who had just raped me.
Department of Justice to no longer prosecute men for abusing children. He has decided that all of the men that were involved with Epstein to violently assault and abuse children will not be held accountable. He will not be prosecuting them, and they can continue to assault children wherever they want. He fired the lead prosecutor. He said the case is over and done with. He said it was a hoax, even though we have dozens and dozens of women who are out there saying this happened to them, and they know the names of the men who did this to them. Trump has decided they're not going after those men. They're allowed to roam free. The administration has taken a stance in favor of men abusing children. That is their official position. They're letting these men go out and abuse more children, knowing full well who they are, because the women who were children when they were originally assaulted told them who they are, and they're choosing not to go after them.
Testify against include Donald J. Trump, Andy Biggs, Jim Jordan, Lindsey Graham, and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. I told Sasha I would publish audio of our conversations, unedited and unredacted. And so I am. For myself, for Sasha, and for his friends, Samantha and Patricia and Sarah, all of whom died, and for the rest of the victims, buried on all the farms, the ranches, the patches of wilderness across the good, sweet earth. And for the rest of the innocent. The evidence is ample. Pornography films, videos, CPS reports, FBI reports on Sasha's father, and a military report involving the court-martial of a fellow soldier found with child pornography depicting Sasha and one of the murder victims, Samantha, a decade earlier. Much of the evidence has been suppressed. Some is obtainable by FOIA request and by investigator request. But what must be understood is that the corroborative evidence is supplemental. The corroborative evidence supports the truthful testimony, and the truthful testimony of what was seen and heard and experienced is not only evidence, but among the most important evidence. And the fraudulent systems that suppress the truth and oppress the innocent will no longer stand. The truth cannot be hidden by falsehoods, whether the falsehoods are told inadvertently or intentionally, by the well-intended misled, or by the bleeding false prophets, bleeding falsehoods, and insidious insinuations of truth, such as insinuations about victim credibility. In a truly just system of justice, victim credibility must never, ever be considered a criteria or prerequisite or requisite of justice at all. A system where the credibility of the victim is considered a criteria or prerequisite for pursuing justice is a fallacy. A system where the victim's credibility is demonized instead of the perpetrator's guilt rightly determined and punished in respect to and in honor of the victim is demonic. I state again, a system where the victim's credibility is demonized is demonic. And then she finishes off by saying, please listen to the testimony to discern the truth yourselves.
Unfit to serve. Article 2, Section 4 goes further. It allows us to remove not only the president, but also the vice president, the cabinet, and even federal judges through impeachment and conviction for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Here's how it works. The House of Representatives brings the impeachment. That's where it starts. Then the Senate holds a trial, and it takes a 2/3 vote to convict and remove them from office. So where do we come in? We get involved. We call our representatives and senators, and we demand accountability. We push for impeachment and conviction when those in power betray their oath. And this isn't about one party. There are Republicans and Democrats who need to be held to the same standard. What matters is that we raise our voices the right way through our Constitution. There's a lot happening every day, and I'll keep you updated. Please like,
was a Nazi, and I'm going to show you why. Not as a joke, not as an insult, by definition. Nazism isn't just armbands in 1940s Germany. At its core, it's an ideology built on ethno-nationalism, racial and cultural hierarchy, treating minority groups as threats to the nation, collective blame and punishment, mass removal or exclusion of undesirable people, and fear-mongering to justify repression. That's the definition of Nazism. Now let's take a look at Charlie Kirk's rhetoric. Charlie Kirk has said that if he saw a black pilot, he'd wonder if he was even qualified. That is racial hierarchy, the assumption that whiteness equals competence. He also framed black Americans as inherently violent, describing prowling blacks targeting white people. That is collective demonization. Charlie Kirk has repeatedly said that Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Not extremism, Islam itself. He described Muslim communities as threats and framed Islam as something being used to destroy America. That is religious exclusion and treating an entire group as an existential danger. When Zohran Mamdani was running for office, Charlie Kirk warned people that Muslims blew up the World Trade Center and now people were voting for one to run New York. That's collective blame and racialized fear. He called for Nuremberg-style trials for doctors providing gender-affirming care. That's calling for state punishment against a targeted group. Kirk supported mass deportations and praised eras when immigration was effectively shut down. He promoted replacement rhetoric, the idea that certain people were replacing real Americans. That is textbook ethno-nationalism. Nazis didn't start with camps. They started with thoughts like these people don't belong, these people are dangerous, these people are inferior, these people must be removed and punished. That's the playbook, and Charlie Kirk followed it. So no, it's not inappropriate or dramatic to call Charlie Kirk a Nazi because he was one. If you're more offended by the word than the ideology, it's because the word fits. And let me remind you that the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi.